Did you watch Jerick at all today in his first game back? And if you did, what did you think of
We just
seeing
let
him back out there?
him. We're glad to have him out. I know he probably had a lot of butterflies getting out for the first time, but we only let him go in air. He just was able to do individual and stuff like that. So we'll watch it again on the tape when we get in and evaluate it. But he's been looking good for a little bit now on air. It's nice to get pads out there and get him with the team since he's off pup now, and he'll be in walkthrough this afternoon, and we'll keep doing it day by day, and hopefully sooner than later we'll get him out there with some team drills.
Is there enough time, do you think, to get him ready so that he takes part in the preseason game, or is it too far along?
I mean, I think there's enough time, but it depends how. That's why you want to be so smart how things go. That's why you always try to avoid setbacks, and that's why we're easing him in slowly. That's what we've done here these last 2 weeks, and even though he's off pub now, we'll continue to do the same thing.
Just speaking of the preseason, have you mapped out what you want to see from Jimmy yet? Obviously, he's not going to play in Saturday's game, but 2 and 3, are those possibilities for him?
Yeah, I got a pretty good idea, and I expect him to definitely play in 2 and 3. But nothing's mapped out and set in stone yet. We kind of take it day by day with that, but that's something you're always thinking about, and definitely planning on going in 2 and 3.
Kind of going back to Jerick, has the medical staff given you a timeline of when he'll be able to jump right into 11-on-11s and even one-on-one drills?
No, because that's something you got to evaluate. We think it'll be sooner than later, and I'm sure. Health-wise and stuff, you feel he could jump in today. We felt that at least a week ago. So, but there's a whole process you got to go through. He's been rehabbing for a year now, and there's a lot that goes into that. And especially a running back, you throw him into the mess, and sometimes we try not to ever go to the ground, but it's almost impossible throughout a whole practice. So you don't want people rolling on his legs and things like that. So you watch him each day. You keep trying to encourage him when we see stuff that's good, and you got to talk to the player and make sure that he feels confident mentally and physically before we do that.
How much closer is Jimmy Ward to being able to do some more stuff in practice?
It's getting closer because each day's going. And the goal is Denver, though. We'd like to get him back for the Denver week, and I know he's able to run and do stuff like that. But anytime you're dealing with a clavicle, you got to make sure it's strong enough to take a hit, and that's what we'll be patient with.
Carvarius Moore seems to be getting more and more time with the first team. Has he been making market progress as far as his knowledge of that safety position?
Yeah, each day he's gotten better. And we're throwing a lot at him, and we moved him there in the middle, I think, of OTAs, and he's came back on his 40 days away, ready to attack it. He's gotten better each day, and he's earned more reps. We've been rotating a lot of those guys back there, trying to see who can try to take that job, especially with Jimmy Ward out. And there's some stiff competition there, but Tarvarius is getting better.
Benefit from McKinnon's return? What does he add to the attack?
We brought McKinnon here. Last year he was going to be a huge part of the offense. When we looked into evaluating stuff, we knew we wanted to get a running back for sure, but we also wanted to get a receiver also who could help in the pass game, and we tried to get that. When we studied Jet and compared him to everyone else, we felt we kind of got the best of both worlds. You got a guy who was very good at beating man-to-man coverage when going against linebackers and safeties. You got a guy who's got the size to protect and really step up in the A-gap and handle some of these bigger backers, and also he's a good running back. So we're being patient with Jet. We know what he can do. We know what he's capable of. We're just trying to take the pressure off him and give him some time to get where he's been.
How's Caden Smith doing with just the learning curve and the transition to this level?
He's coming. He's further along now than he was in OTAs. I'd say out of almost any position we do, we throw a lot at the tight ends. How much we move them, how much they need to know in the run game, and how they need to know everything in the pass game, just like all the receivers. So there's a lot on their plate behind the quarterback. Is probably the most. But he's been doing a good job. But all those tight ends, it's never perfect. Kittle still is up and down on some of his days with the amount of offense we have in right now, the amount of fronts they got to go against. But he's coming a long way, and he's learning, and hopefully he'll continue to improve.
When you look at a guy like Dwelly, second year here, does it show?
Definitely. Dwelly went from when he got here to, he was on the outside looking in. We didn't know if he'd be a practice squad guy or not. And towards the end of preseason last year, he showed some stuff to where we put him on our practice squad, and he continued to get better throughout the year in practice to where we ended up putting him up over, I think it was Cole Wick at the time, and he earned that third tight end spot. And he basically played Kittle every Wednesday because Kittle was banged up a lot through the year, so he'd have to do all his routes and everything, and just got better throughout the year. And now this year he's a legit NFL player, and he's going to help us.
What are your initial impressions of Austin Walter so far in camp?
He's done a good job. it took some time to get the pads on. We saw him in rookie camp. We know he can do some things in the pass game, and he's not the biggest guy, so you want to see how he was on pads. And I thought the first day in pads on, I thought he hesitated a little bit, so you'd like to see how they come back. And he has been very aggressive, getting downhill, not flinching, showing that we know he can do some stuff because of his quickness and ability in the out of the backfield. But to lower his pads and really to play physical here in these last padded practice shows they'll have a chance.
How do you manage the roller coaster of like the rookie receivers? So Jalen Hurd today looked like he ran the wrong way on a run play, and Debo had a catch, didn't keep running after he caught it, and then obviously the next play he dropped the ball. How do you just pick them up after that?
I mean, it's a little. Sometimes you pick them up, and then sometimes you got to get on them. But it's not just the rookie receivers; it's the veterans too. I mean, Pettis made a good play and caught a first down, and then he fumbled it. So there's a number of guys out there, and we need that group to step up. We have some ability in that group, but the consistency isn't there. And of course, with rookies, but also the vets too. I'm expecting all those guys to do better, and they all need to pick it up.
Is it on the players to step it up too and get on them?
Yeah, it's on everyone in our building. I mean, those guys hold each other accountable. We hold each other accountable. But the main thing is, are you holding yourself accountable? And each guy's different. But I've been very happy with how our rookies have acted. When talking about Debo, when talking about Hurd, even Poindexter, Malik, they've attacked it. They've made mistakes, but they're going hard. They're playing aggressive, and they're not just trying to make this team. They're trying to take people's jobs.
Pretty much from the time McGlinchey got here, he and Staley have kind of been like this. How does Mike benefited from having Joe, and maybe ways that Joe has benefited from having Mike too?
I think they have fun together. So we're here every single day, and they're both kind of goofballs and stuff. So they enjoy each other's company and everything. But when you are real close like that, and you hang out not just in the building but outside the building, I guess it depends on the type of players you are. But they're both smart guys who really study their craft, who study each other. They both compete more than anything, even though they're I joke BFFs, but they still are going to hate on each other too and try to get after each other because they definitely are competitive. I think that's something a veteran like Joe needs at this time in his career, and I think it's great for a younger guy like McGlinchey to have a reminder on the other side that he doesn't have all the answers, that there's a lot more he can learn, and he can get a lot better also.
Does the team benefit from that, the kind of joking around, the energy that they bring to in some way?
Yeah, I think when your team's tighter than the team you're going against, I always think that's an advantage. You got to play well, you got to have detail, you got to be coached well. I think the ball's got to bounce the right way, but every time on those sidelines, if you have a tighter team, I always feel like you have an advantage going against the other group.
What did you see from Akello today, coming back from that minor glute issue?
From what I saw, he had a good pick that got him out of a drive. Their backs were against the wall, and we sailed a ball over the receiver's head, and he made a good job on that pick that ended it. It looked like he jumped in there in one-on-ones and was competing. I'll have to see when I get the tape, but, Akello was playing as well as he's played since he got here before that injury. And then he had his first practice back today. From what I saw, it seemed good. I'll watch more in a second, but we needed him to keep getting better, and he was on his way before that injury, and I got to make sure that he doesn't have a setback with this.
Al, do you ever have to dial down Kendrick Bourne's energy level?
No, definitely not. He smiles no matter what. He's running around no matter what, and he's come a long way. We've always liked KB. He's got real strong hands and plays very hard. Being in the same offense now, going into his third year, it's been a lot easier to move him around and stuff. But he's having a hell of a camp, and we really enjoy him here.
Last one, Jen. You had an issue with pre-snap penalties last year.
With what?
Pre-snap penalties.
Yeah.
Last year, there were a couple today at practice. Do you take time now to focus on that and talk to everybody?
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge problem, and we gotta always harp on it. It's very easy, let's just stop motioning and do everything and make it easier. That's really not what we believe in, though. We try to do a lot of stuff schematically, which puts a lot of pressure on all five eligibles. It puts pressure on the quarterback and how he's got to have command of that. That's something that I think we need to coach better, and it's something our players need to have better command at and do more. And saw too much of it today, and luckily it's not the finished product yet, but that's something we really got to harp on.
All right. Scott, you make guys earn it. For you to say that KB's having a hell of a camp, why do you say that?
Because he is. You can tell KB always works, but you can tell it was even different this time. He didn't leave it all in his 40 days away. I can see he's stronger. I can see he's in better shape. I can see he's more locked in. I always like to see what guys have how how much room they gain on other people while they're gone. And KB made big jumps compared to some other guys, and it's showing on the field, and he deserves it. Good. Thanks, guys.